Forget about dusting ourselves off. Forget about getting off the canvas. We're off the canvas. We're back in court. I got 2 different lawsuits filed within hours of the United States Supreme Court trying to make it harder for people to have babies born in America be U.S. citizens. They didn't address birthright citizenship, or did they? They took away the right of a federal judge to issue a nationwide injunction to stop the nationwide harm of Donald Trump when he issues executive orders trying to rip away the beating heart of birthright citizenship from the 14th Amendment in the Constitution. And the lawyers were not caught flat-footed. One group of lawyers led by a Georgetown Policy Institute filed immediately. I'm talking 120 minutes later on Friday, after the Supreme Court issued its ruling at 10 a.m., they went back to Judge Bowman in Maryland, filed an amended complaint for class action status, putting everybody similarly situated, like all mothers about to have children or who have had children since the 25th of February when the executive order came out, having them in one class with a temporary restraining order motion on top of it on an emergency basis. What's happened there? Monday, tomorrow, there's going to be a hearing. The hearing is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in front of Judge Boardman. In the meantime, another entirely different group led by Democracy Forward and Norm Eisen filed a complaint up in New Hampshire in front of Judge LaPlante, seeking class action, temporary restraining order, and the rest. This is the revenge. It's like, we got sucker punched by the Supreme Court, but we were ready for it. If anything, we dodged it, filed our papers immediately. I'm going to catch you up on these 2 cases, one with a hearing on Monday and one with a brand new filing in New Hampshire, right here on Legal AF. There's going to be 4,000 lawsuits involving Donald Trump and his lurch from one constitutional crisis to the next before this is all said and done. You need to be here on Legal AF in order to get the breakdown of it. And let's go. While you're here, hit the subscribe button. Okay. All right. With the advertising out of the way, let's get to what happened. Let's start with Maryland. I'm talking 120 minutes later. And I covered this. The group led by Georgetown Law School filed their amended complaint for class action status. Why? Because both Justice Sotomayor in the minority, in the dissent, and Kavanaugh in the main decision, 6-3 on nationwide injunction and by extension birthright citizenship, said, well, we can get rid of nationwide injunction power for federal judges. They don't have to issue nationwide injunctions. They can use class actions and temporary restraining orders. Okay, then that's exactly what they're doing. What's a class action? You have an individual action and you have what's called collective or class actions. Individual actions are my rights have been violated. My contract has been violated. And maybe I have a bunch of parties that are also part of the contract or who have been injured just the same. It's not large enough to be a class action, which requires a large number of people. There's no defined term, but usually it's above 3 or 4 or 500 people. And you sue individually. And the remedy that you obtain applies only to the parties that are in front of the court. That's individual. Class action is a class or collective action where you have class representatives representing an entire class certified by the judge pursuant to rules and statutes, who are similarly situated, who have typical and similar claims, who have it's too large of a group for them to do it individually, and other efficiencies that are encapsulated within that. And when the judge certifies a class and enters into a settlement or makes a ruling or a judgment, or a jury does that, it affects everybody in the class, whether they're in the courtroom or not in the courtroom, unless they opt out. Okay, so class action, not a perfect vehicle, but a vehicle to address something like an executive order on birthright citizenship, declaring that every baby born from February 25th forward on U.S. soil is not a U.S. citizen, despite what the birth certificate says, unless their parent, one or more of their parents are documented or U.S. citizens. Okay, so what do? Well, when you see Kavanaugh say, well, we're going to get rid of nationwide injunctions, but we have the equivalent of nationwide injunctions because you can use a class action and a temporary restraining order. And Sotomayor, even more to the point in her dissent, saying, if you're representing babies, you're representing mothers of babies about to be born or have been born since February, get on your high horse, get down to the courthouse as fast as possible, file a class action, file a temporary restraining order, and get this case back to the United States Supreme Court as quickly as possible. And that's what the group led by Georgetown did with Judge Boardman. Boardman has set a hearing for tomorrow at 2 o'clock. What's the pieces of paper she has in front of us? She's got an amended complaint to treat the case as class action status, because before she had individuals in front of her, but she issued a nationwide injunction, which the Supreme Court supermajority 6-3 said, no, you're not allowed to do that. You're only allowed to issue a remedy that fits the actual parties and controversies that are in front of you. So you can't do nationwide. I mean, you could under some limited circumstances, but we're not going to tell you what those are. And we're not going to give you any guidance from the Supreme Court. It's like we're playing an elaborate game of, I'm thinking of a number. 7, nope, pick again. No direction to the lower courts. For instance, what's left open from their decision, the Supreme Court 6-3? What happens if states join together? Like many of the cases against the Trump administration, you're looking at 18, 19, 20 states joined together, blue states. Why can't there be a nationwide injunction then? Isn't that enough of a tranche, a statistical sample of America to allow for a nationwide injunction? That's left open. We're not sure. I should be sure, but I'm not sure. But we're not waiting around. I can't think of a better use of an injunction around a class than to certify a class of everybody born since the executive order to parents whose one or both of them are not U.S. citizens. And that's what Boardman talking about on Monday. She's got the amended class action complaint. She's got the emergency motion for temporary restraining order, and she's calling everybody together at 2 o'clock on Monday. And she said, before we get together, in her order, her paperless order, which means it's only on the docket, the electronic list of events in the case, you guys better talk among yourselves as to how you want to argue this. Well, you know what's going to happen. Trump's going to be like, we don't think class action is appropriate. The judge is going to be like, well, I need a briefing schedule, quick one, quickly. And if you guys can't agree to it, I'm going to set it. So I think what Judge Bowman's going to do is she's going to set a 2-week or so total briefing schedule. Trump gets a brief, they get a brief, another brief, oral argument, and boom, she rules sometime in mid-July. Whoever loses, meaning Trump, ends up in the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals. It's a good circuit for justice. The loser there, Trump, will go to the United States Supreme Court on an emergency application. They will probably then treat it more like a regular appeal, allow for full briefing and oral argument over the summer. Could be before Labor Day, which is totally appropriate. We're going to be having a birthright citizenship oral argument at the United States Supreme Court. And if not in that case, let me flip over to New Hampshire. What happened in New Hampshire? Okay, a group led by Democracy Forward and the American Civil Liberties Union joined together, drafted up immediately, and I have it in front of me, a complaint for class action status. Here, complaint for declaratory and injunctive relief and class action status. I'll read to you from parts of it. And a motion for class-wide, nationwide preliminary injunction. Here's what they say in their complaint. Now remember, this judge has already made certain rulings. They've been before this judge already. This is the same judge who already issued a nationwide injunction on birthright citizenship, denying the executive order's ability as being unconstitutional to rip away 100 years of court precedent under the 14th Amendment. So they talk about the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, provides that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States, which makes perfect sense. Baby's born, parents are undocumented, baby born in America. What's its citizenship? It's citizenshipless, it's nationless, it can't get a passport, it can't get funding. And what country? It's born in America, Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Venezuela, Germany, they're all going to recognize this child born in an American hospital? Okay. They then go over the 125 years of precedent. For plaintiffs on page 3, paragraph 8, the new complaint says, for plaintiffs, children who will be denied citizenship under the order and their parents, and for families across the country, this order seeks to strip away the priceless treasure of citizenship. They then go over the irreparable harm that will be suffered, obviously, by this group. Paragraph 51, page 11. Denying citizenship to children being born every day throughout the country would have a devastating impact on plaintiffs and the United States as a whole. It denies them full membership in U.S. society. It would promote the creation and perpetuation of a subclass of children who were born in the United States but lack fundamental legal recognition and face stigma as a result of their novel and uncertain status. By attacking the principles that all children born in the country are citizens, the order will invite persistent questioning of the citizenship of children of immigrants, particularly children of color. And it continues. Paragraph 65, stateless people often lack access to education, employment, healthcare, and other rights, and face travel restrictions, social exclusion, and heightened vulnerability to violence and other harms. The case says that Donald Trump and his administration have violated the 14th Amendment. They violated the Administrative Procedures Act, and of course, seek that temporary restraining order that Kavanaugh invited. What's going to happen there? Judge LaPlante is going to have a series of hearings, a hearing first, then briefing, and then make a decision. We may have competing classes. We might have competing classes. And how does that get resolved? Well, there is a procedure, what's called multi-district litigation, where multiple class actions under the same umbrella get pulled together by a panel under multi-district litigation, meaning more than one district, right? New Hampshire and Maryland. And a panel decides who's going to be the judge to hear that case once they decide it's appropriate for multi-district litigation. I think that's the next procedural step here. Quickly, though, everything I'm talking about here is going to move at the speed of light, okay? And we're going to cover it for you right here on Legal AF. I'm glad you're here. I'll update you off of Monday's hearing. I'll tell you what's happening in New Hampshire right here on Legal AF and on the Midas Touch Network. Tune into the Legal AF Substack, where I'll be posting all of these filings so that you can find them and you can read them for yourself. And of course, Legal AF, the YouTube channel. You're here. Hit the free subscribe button. And Legal AF, the podcast. We're top 50 in the world among all podcasts on YouTube, and that's all because of you, because as part of your journey, you joined our movement. We appreciate you. We need more audio downloads of Legal AF, the podcast, and you can help us there. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.